Hi boys and girls, Miss Lehmann here to do math for today. If you could please get out your math book and we're going to open it up to page 589. And the lesson is 8-5 and it's called Time to the Hour on an Analog Clock. Now there's two different types of clocks. There's one that looks like this and then there's one that just shows numbers. That's called a digital clock. And we'll talk a bit more about a digital clock later. But today we're going to look at the analog clock. So right here is the analog clock and I want to talk to you a bit about the parts of an analog clock. This is called our clock face. Our clock face has the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It also, this particular one has two hands. It has a longer hand and a shorter hand. The long hand is your minute hand. It moves one little space every minute. The short hand is your hour hand. The hour hand moves slowly to the next hour. If this minute hand gets all the way around, that hour hand will point to the next hour. Some clocks have a third hand, and that's called our second hand. But for right now, these are the ones that we're going to worry about. So there are 60 minutes in an hour, and every single one of these big numbers represents 5 minutes. And remember, we've been working on we've been working on counting by fives, and that will help us with telling time. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. All these numbers that are on the outside of the clock, you will not see on a normal analog clock. So if you look at that clock, that would be, those numbers are what you would see on a normal analog clock. But these ones on the outside are helping us learn to tell time. So when we tell time to the hour, the minute hand, which is your long hand, is always going to be straight up at the 12. And the hour hand will be pointing to whatever hour it is. So we would say that this is 5 o'clock. So when the minute hand is straight up at the 12, we say o'clock. So this says Robbie has band practice that starts at 3 o'clock. Show that time on the clock. So if it started at 3 o'clock, where would that be? Well, we know o'clock would be straight up, but where would this hour hand be pointing? You're right, the 3. It would be pointing here and we would say 3 o'clock. And then it says the practice is over at 5 o'clock. Show that time on the clock. Trace the hands to show the time on the clock. So this would be when band practice is over, 5 o'clock. We can turn the page, boys and girls. So this says there are two kinds of clocks. This is an analog clock. The hour hand is shorter, so you can see that's the hour hand, and it points to the hour. The minute hand is longer, and it points to the minute. If we were to look at that time right there, boys and girls, what time would that say? Remember, we say the shortest hand first, so it would say 3 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock. So we're going to use the clock to show the time. Tell what time is shown. So remember, we're going to look at the hour first, and then the minute hand says these words, o'clock. So look at the hour hand. What is that? That is 9 o'clock. Excellent. Looking at this one, 2 o'clock. Awesome. Looking at number 3, 11 o'clock. Awesome. You guys are so smart. How about this one? This one looks funny. You read it the same way. Read that shorthand first. The red, 6 o'clock. Perfect. So on your own, you're going to read the clock. And then when you're done with that page, boys and girls, you get the opportunity, this is going to be a fun part, to actually draw the hands on the clock yourself. So it says Ava gets home at 3 o'clock. Evan gets home 1 hour later. What time does Evan get home? So if Ava gets home at 3, what's 1 hour after 3? 3 plus 1 is? Yes, 4 o'clock. But how would you write that here? There's 2 hands. There's the hour hand and the minute hand. So we're trying to write 4 o'clock. What one do we do first? The hour hand. Good. So our short little hand would point to the 4. And where would our long minute hand go? To the 12. Excellent. So you have 2 more problems that you will be doing. Roger begins reading books at 7 o'clock. He reads for 1 hour. What time does he stop? Good for Roger reading. Antonio tried to set the hands on the clock for 9 o'clock. Tell why Antonio is wrong. Antonio did it wrong. Can you make it right and tell us what he did wrong? All right, boys and girls, I think it's really cool that we're going to be learning how to tell time. Time is so helpful, and that way you don't have to ask your parents. You can just look at the clock and you will know the time. So today we learned time to the hour, and then later this week we're going to learn time to the half hour. Plus we're going to talk about those digital clocks, the ones you see on microwaves and other places like phones and computers and things like that. All right, have a wonderful math day. What time is it?